Congressman Adam Kinzinger taking time out of his busy day for us. Congressman, good morning to you.
What's up, brother? How are you?
How you doing this morning?
You know, I'm getting by. What about you?
I've got nothing to complain about that's really worth hearing, I think, at this point.
Nobody cares, you know.
There's that angle on it, too. Back in the nation's capital after the recess, how was that?
Oh, it's wonderful. You know, I come back to this crazy hearing, and thankfully I didn't have to sit through it, but watched a little on TV to understand what the goal of the majority is going to be, and I got a good idea. It's going to be impeachment, and, you look at it, and you're like, what, impeaching them on what?
I was just going to say that to you. Just, a really broad question to someone like you who's in the know. For what?
Yeah, exactly. So think of it this way. You know how back a few years ago, our party was kind of in this, internal battle, of, are we doing enough? Are we conservative enough? Are we too,
Right.
And there was this fight. And then take that times about 50,000, and that's what the Democrats are dealing with. So, ours wasn't even a disagreement on policy. It was a disagreement on tactics among the Republicans. This is a disagreement on everything. So, Barack Obama leaves. Now they're struggling for, what is a Democrat? What does it mean to be a Democrat? And this fight that's going on in the presidential primaries, which bleeds over into Congress, is how can we be as far left to satisfy our far left voting base in the primary? And that's what's happening. So they know darn well, I think, if you put them up on a polygraph, they don't have anything to impeach the president on, but they know that their far left, socialist base is saying, hey, we demand you impeach the president because we don't like him. And so they're following through on that. And what you saw yesterday was a Democratic Party that is, took Corey Lewandowski and basically said, let's do everything we can to damage him. You took Corey, who I think did pretty well.
I thought he did very well. Nothing. Yeah, I thought he did very, very well, including in several cases he gave a lot better than he got.
That's right. And, I look at it this way. I wish we could go to a day where there was a lot of people were all being respectful to each other at hearings, and for the most part we are. But when you have somebody that puts a witness in front of the stand and then tries to just destroy them personally, it's imperative to fight back and to point out, for instance, when Swalwell was starting to say stuff and Corey made the point, you're just doing this to run for president, and it's that kind of stuff. If you're going to disrespect a witness, you need to get it back like you got it. And so I thought it was okay. But, the bottom line is this is what they're going to be focused on. There's a few opportunities to still get some things done, but this is what's going to be for the next year and a half, I think, Jim.
Boy, it sure seems like Jerry Nadler. He's really got an obsession going.
Oh, he does, yeah. I mean, look, he wants to be famous, and this is his way to be famous. He gets on every news station, every TV station, and the Democratic base loves him because of that. And so that's what it is, and it's one thing to say, gee, I want people to know who I am. I guess that's fine,
right,
generally. But do it the right way. Do it by actually trying to govern a country instead of, trying to satisfy the Hollywood base.
Well, and then I'm reading a story this morning about the senator from Arizona, Kristen, is it Sinema?
Sinema, yeah.
Yeah, she's facing censure by Arizona's Democratic Party because they claim she votes too often in favor of the president's agenda. She has opposed the president 81% of the time, but that is not enough to satisfy, and apparently they're going to vote to censure her.
Yeah, I know, and see, this is where democracy's in danger. Not really in danger. I don't want to be too dramatic, but sort of, because with the Democrats, the thing that we had always held. I remember the first time I ran for Congress, people were like, "Hey, you're going to be independent from your party sometimes, right? You're not going to be controlled by D.C." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to do what I think is right for the district." And what happens is somebody does that, and then they come out here, and then if they do what they think is right, and it goes against their party. The party starts threatening, especially the Democrats right now, to kick them out because they have a different opinion. And so what you have is now, especially in the Democratic Party, this far left base that has no desire to govern from the center, which, you really, in a divided government, have to govern from the center. And you take somebody like Kristen Sinema, who I know, and I served with her here in Congress, she's plenty liberal, trust me, is not liberal enough. So, look, this is why it's so imperative that we take the House back, that we hold the Senate, and that we get the president reelected, because otherwise what you're seeing is what's going to be governing this country.
Are you as stunned as I am and others are that this Kavanaugh thing will not stop?
I'm not stunned. I'm disgusted.
Okay, but yeah, that's actually a better way of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, they have an obsession against him. They're worried about, their quote-unquote rights and quote-unquote these decisions coming out of the Senate or out of the Supreme Court, and they want to take a man that frankly had beat, I think, some really unfounded charges against him, and they want to just bring it up again to delegitimize him. And what's amazing is when this story broke, I'm like, oh man, what is this? And we all find out then the accuser never even really made the accusation.
Nope.
That she has no recollection of it. And there's got to be a point at which we stop judging yesterday's behavior by today's standards, and that we stop especially making accusations of things that may or may not have happened 30 years ago when there's no witness. If this is what we want to be as a country, listen, if you want, those of you with sons, if you want your son to be subject to unfounded accusations or accusations of behavior that may or may not have happened 30 years ago in a very different time where people were judged by different standards, then that's fine. But what I think is fair is that we judge today's behaviors by today's standards, and that we hold that accusations made against somebody that can be destructive actually have backing. I tell people this. I go, I would rather be falsely accused of murder than falsely accused of sexual assault, because, on murder, you can look at it and say, okay, whatever. On something like sexual assault, that is a man taking their position of strength and overwhelming, in essence, the strength of another person. And it's something that's impossible to counter if just an accusation is made. As a society, we've got to get a grip on this and stop destroying people simply because of politics or any other reason.
Yeah, we disagree, and it isn't enough to really beat you at the ballot box or discredit you in that. We need to personally destroy you, make you unemployable, make you to where you don't want to leave your house for fear of an uprising from a mob who is so mad at you.
Yeah, you know what? If you want to win at the ballot box so bad, go there with good ideas, right? Politics is messy. There's going to be attacks and all that stuff. But to try to destroy somebody personally in an unfounded way simply for political power is not democracy. That's basically Marxism. That is how every dictator takes power, and that needs to stop.
Got a couple of more minutes here with Congressman Adam Kinzinger. I had to ask you about this because I know foreign policy is right into your wheelhouse, and you watch what happens in the Middle East as closely, if not more closely, than most anybody else. The drone attack on the Saudi oil fields and Iran's tie-in, and this is a Pearl Harbor moment. This is that. What is that moment?
So I think there's no doubt that I think Iran is going to continue to push the limits till they provoke a U.S. or allied response. This is going to be, I believe, and I don't have any information that you don't, but I believe this is going to be found to be not a drone attack by the rebels. I think this is going to be a direct, possibly even cruise missile attack by Iran. I mean, I think there's like 15 impact points or something in this oil facility. So I would not be surprised whatsoever if there is a U.S. response. It'll be proportional, so maybe we hit a Iranian oil facility or something like that. But I do think that Iran's going to have to start feeling the penalty of whatever they use to do an attack, or the equivalent of what they attacked is going to be destroyed on their end to stop this from happening. I think the president's pretty close to that right now. Nobody's calling for a war against Iran, but it is saying you can't disrupt oil supplies like that simply to make a point. These sanctions are biting, and we need to have confidence again in our U.S. military's ability to respond, without, massive casualties or, again, starting a whole new war. This is the United States of America. We have a whole lot of options in our tool belts, and I think we're probably going to see one of those soon.
And one final question for you, and this is something that applies right directly here at home, the funding for Illinois rural broadband.
Yeah, so this is, and I had some folks in here just the other day that were talking about the fact that, they have to walk outside to use their cell phones or to get internet. And one of the new important parts of infrastructure is not just roads and bridges anymore. It's the ability to access the internet, whether it's at school or home or in farming. And so we've gotten money, and I'm one of the chairs of the Rural Broadband Caucus, to get rural broadband put out to rural areas where there's not a ton of people, and so businesses aren't making the decision to go out there. So more money's come forward. We've got some different grants, and we're going to continue to push hard on that because that's really important in the rural economy especially.
We're talking like 6,700 homes and businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you think about it, like that's the ability to access the internet. Many of us wish maybe the internet didn't exist, but it does. And so the ability to access the internet is really, really important. And so as we see how rural America is struggling, that's one of the best and most important things we can do to help them, I think.
Congressman, as always, I know you're very busy. I appreciate you carving out some time during your day for us. I'll look forward to our next get-together.
You bet. Anytime. Take care, my man.